The following is a presentation of the Tragically Hip podcast series.
Okay, we are officially into uncharted waters. We never do third ones. So let's see what happens.
Your Hipstories, reflections from the final tour.
Hey, it's JD here, and welcome to Your Hipstories, reflections from the final tour. This is the show where we go back in time 10 years and remember our memories, our experiences, the magic that occurred. Today, we're talking about July 28th, 2016, exactly 10 years ago from today, when the Tragically Hip performed at the Rexall Center. The Rexall Center! I can't believe it. When I read it was Rexall, I was blown away. But they performed at the Rexall Center in Edmonton, night one, and I've got three people who were there live that night and leading up to it, and they're going to share all their stories with us. First of all, I've got Britton from Wainwright. How are you doing today, Britton?
Really well today. Thank you, JD.
Excellent. Amber from Meadow Lake. Sorry, Amber, my writing is so terrible. How are you doing? How's it going on this hiptastic day?
I'm good.
All right. Dave from Edmonton, how about you? What's news?
Not much. I'm doing good today. Excited to talk about the show.
Well, let's start talking about it. Let's not waste any time and let's get right into it. What, Dave from Edmonton, was your first recollection of hearing about the tour, and was it one of those like, yes, I'm going to be there, like as soon as you heard it?
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to cast my mind back in the lead up to this, and I was thinking about the band as a whole and the lead into the show, and I'm one of those fans of the band who kind of fell off. You know, they got to about 2006, and I wasn't a big fan of the Bob Rock albums at first, and then I get to the late 2000s, early 2010s. I have small kids. I'm not going to concerts as often. I think the last time I had seen the band was in 2007 in January. I drove up with my wife to meet friends I was living in Calgary, to meet friends who were living in Edmonton, in Red Deer, to see the band at the NMAX Centrium there. And I remember, and I don't know if it was being tired, it was a weeknight, it was January. I remember not being super stoked about the show. And so I'd gone through this period with the band where I wasn't paying a ton of attention to them. And then the first single off Man Machine Poem comes out, in World Possessed by the Human Mind. Really liked the single. And then we get the news about Gord's diagnosis and thinking, oh my God, like that's terrible. And then they're going to do a whole tour. And I knew instantly it was, we have to go see this show. It's as a way of presuming the worst and saying goodbye to the band. Also reconnecting with friends with whom I had seen previous Tragically Hip shows, and being this kind of a coming together of friends in advance of the show. So as soon as we heard about the tour, we were in. There was no way we were not going to see the show. If we weren't lucky enough to get tickets on the first go round, we'd be willing to kind of do what we could to get tickets, because I remember there was a lot of complaints about the cost on the resale market at the time, but we were fortunate enough to get a couple of sets of 4 in separate rows for the show. And yeah, 100% that as soon as we heard about the concert, we were in.
From Ticketmaster, you got your tickets? Like,
yeah,
just logging in and doing it? Wow.
Just logging in and doing it, yeah.
That's great. Amber, what was your experience like?
I was in the Tragically Hip fan club, Tales from the Hip. So I got a pre-order for tickets. So, but yes, as soon as I heard there was going to be a tour, I was in.
And in terms of getting tickets, how was that? How was that process?
It was easy, except for I was at work. So I run an exercise program for seniors, and they all witnessed me get my 4 tickets for 8th row floor, and I was crying.
What?
And yeah, so yeah.
Wow. And was that on like first spin?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's that's the best story so far that I've heard from all of these I've done. That's amazing. 8th row on the floor on one pole. Wow. Britton
Yeah.
from Wainwright. Tell me, my friend, about your hearing of the news and take us through that process of getting tickets and whatnot.
The news about Gord was devastating, frankly, and I'm sure it was really for everybody, because that's not a good diagnosis. So there was never a doubt that I was not going. I had been continuing going. I've been to darn near 40 shows. I've being in Wainwright, I'm kind of equidistant between Saskatoon, Edmonton, Red Deer. So I would hit multiple shows regardless when I could. Now I had small kids as well, so there was some heavy duty negotiating going on sometimes in order to do that. But my wife became a fan after I introduced her to the live hip, and she would come more often than not. So there was no doubt that I was not going to go. I was also part of the fan club app thing, so I got pre-sale. Onto the pre-sale, I had some friends in the city that they pulled some row 6, I think, floor seats.
Whoa.
They ended up getting me because I ended up going single because I got tickets to Edmonton shows. So I got. They initially got me row 17 floor seats, and then they released seats just prior to the shows, a day or two ahead. And Ticketmaster, if you want to upgrade your seat, as long as you're not downgrading price, I upgraded to row 11 center.
Wow.
Went single and went up for that. Met the friends there. Drove up from Wainwright's 200 kilometers and then headed back home that night. I think it was a Thursday night. And then my wife and I did get tickets to the Saturday second show. So we went up later, but we lucked out. And the pre-sale did us well. And then finding out Ticketmaster would upgrade tickets was fantastic. I actually found the tickets I wanted. I had to phone in, so that takes a while. And so what I would do is I would hit the ticket that I wanted and hold it for as long as Ticketmaster would let me do it online. And then as soon as it stopped, I would go back in, grab that ticket until I finally got through and said, I have this ticket. I want it. So I released it and they gave it to me.
Oh.
So yeah, it was good.
I'm learning these little tricks. There's some good tricks I'm learning. Not going to lie to you. Amber, are you still here with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, my connection isn't great, but I'll hang in there as long as I can.
Oh, no worries. If this is easier to go no camera because of a bandwidth thing, that's fine. That's fine. Rexall. Rogers was getting ready to open in the fall, wasn't it? The next couple of months away.
Yeah, they did preseason hockey in September. It wasn't quite there, and I think for me I was glad that it was at Rexall Place. Not I've seen concerts at Rogers Place, and it's a good experience as well. But having seen the band at Rexall previously and having seen other concerts when I was younger at Rexall previously, it was a nice nostalgia thing. I had only recently moved back to Edmonton, and the arena, I saw the last Oilers game at Rexall Place, and I always just had fond memories of going there, even as a kid. So the fact that I got to see the Hip one last time in a venue I had seen them in previously was, I think, more fun than seeing them in the new arena.
Yeah, there's something romantic about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
I got to see the Hip in Maple Leaf Gardens, and that's special to me, even though it was like just a dump by the time I was there. There's still something magic about it. It's like going to Wrigley, You got your tickets. It was a big deal. Had they already announced Edmonton 2? Or were you a bit, did you end up getting Edmonton 2 tickets as well? Because it's like, well, I want to see them the last time at Edmonton,
I can't recall exactly now. It seems to me it was just the one, but it looked like there was space. So I think they just did the first one. And then number 2 was announced shortly thereafter, or maybe even that day.
Okay.
And, it seems to me it was fairly quick turnaround, and I think I was very happy to find that out, and very happy that I heard about it in time to get tickets for the second show.
Yeah, for me, it was a case of we were really pleased to get tickets for the first, and then they announced the second. And I think for a moment we debated it, but we just decided we were just going to stick as a group for one. And even as it was, because I think they had a limit on how many tickets you could buy, our groups were separated by a few rows. We were lucky enough that we were in a section, either a section over or the same section. I can't remember exactly where the other set of tickets were, but we were super close together, which I found surprising given the interest in the show. We just happened to luck out and get 2 groups of 4 fairly close together. So it was a nice sizable group of 8. And yeah, I don't think anyone from our group did both shows.
It's what did you guys think of the set list? What did you think? Were there songs that you heard differently that night, Britton?
Heard differently. I think I maybe was listening for differently. Some of Gord's delivery was a little bit different, but he'd also varied his delivery occasionally, even in the past. I thought he did fantastically. But as far as the set list, I think that the format that they did by the albums, I thought it was fantastic.
Pretty cool, right?
It was too bad that they hadn't maybe discovered that earlier in their touring career, or somebody else. I mean, they'd done the Fully Completely tour with the whole album, but going album by album with a 4-song sampler, I thought was a stroke of genius.
Oh yeah, and you sort of started by the time you get to Edmonton. They've played 3 shows at this point. You're starting to play a what's the set list kind of game, looking at the previous set lists.
Absolutely, and you knew that the set list after Man Machine Poem was going to be one of the 2000s albums.
Yes.
They were throwing in all the big albums from the early mid-career, and what's it going to be? And I was really, really hoping to get. I was a fan of the Bob Rock albums. I found them easier for me to get into than the 3 albums previous. I had to do more repeated listenings, and in order to get into them, and I've enjoyed them, and I enjoyed the tours. So I was really hoping to get not the sorry, my brain's gone into fog. What was the one before Man Machine Poem? The album. I was really
Now for Plan A.
Now for Plan A. I'd seen but a few shows from that, so I was hoping not to get that album, if the truth be known. So to get In Between Evolution, I was very happy with, and I think the songs that they chose
Great record.
Yes, yeah. That album and that tour, I've got fond memories. I took my nephew to a couple of shows on that tour. It was his first concerts, and so fond memories of the album and the tour. So that was a pleasure for me to hear.
And you guys got great. They chose great songs from it. You got Summer's Killing Us. It Can't Be Nashville Every Night. If New Orleans Is Beat. Gus the Polar Bear from Central Park. That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun.
Gus was fun. I really enjoyed it. If New Orleans Is Beat, it started, and then I've listened to it since, and it was a great song. Like a great song. He performed those songs very well. The band was fantastic, and he performed it very well.
Yeah.
Dave, what was your experience like with the set lists?
I was really pleased with the set list. For me, like my favorite run for the Hip is similar to my favorite run for U2. I love their 90s output. I really do. Like, so from Fully Completely to Trouble, Day for Night, Trouble at the House, and Phantom Power. Like, I love Road Apples, but like for me, that 91 to 98 run is my favorite era for the band. And to get 4 of those 5 albums to close out the show was amazing. But I would tend to agree, like Gus is one of the standout songs for me from the concert, and I'm not as big a fan of In Between Evolution. There's something, and I've listened to their discography kind of in a row recently. I have weird ebbs and flows with albums, but not long ago I did kind of like a re-listen to everything, and there's something about the production of some of the songs on that album that doesn't sit well with me. There's like Gord's vocals sometimes feels lost in the mix, or it feels kind of, I don't know, leaves me cold a little bit. But I loved hearing Gus live. It was one of those ones that really stood out for me. Just the vibe in the arena was great. But to hear, I think the thing that stands out is he started a little shaky, and I think that was kind of the same for the early shows on the tour. I think, and once we got past Edmonton into other cities, I think he really gained steam. And so when you see the televised show in Kingston to wrap up the tour, he was in amazing form the whole way through. But the thing that stands out for me that I remember is it was just like going to church. Like everyone was up and singing along with all of the songs. And not all. I think people were still getting used to the 4 songs from Man Machine Poem. I don't know that they were sing along as much, but to hear Little Bones and The Luxury and Long Time Running and then to get into Scared was the one that I think stands out as like giving chills the most. To hear it, I hadn't heard it in live in so long, and it's one of my favorite songs by the band. It has such an emotional feel to it, and everyone singing in the arena, it was just like it was an emotional moment. And I know my wife is from Kingston. She talks about I asked her in advance of this, like, what do you remember? She's like, I remember crying a lot. And so those were those moments for me. But so to have a set list packed with like personal favorites of mine, I felt I was really blessed to be at that show, and then just the moments of kind of the crowd being a part of it were things that stood out for me.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the vibe. The beginning of the show, I have to imagine everybody is coming into the show and they're amped because it's a hip show, and that's what you are. You're amped. What was it like coming out of the show? Was there more of like a pall, or was it still jubilance, and celebration?
I found it was celebration. For me, it was celebration the entire way through. All my emotions were up always. it was joyous for me, and I think the people around me, and even at the end, even coming out of my last show, it was just joyous. I was so happy that they'd done this for us, and I know there was definite emotions, and going back to Scared, that was the pleasure doing business with you line right at the end, and the crowd just like you. I almost felt like I wasn't standing on the floor; I was levitating. It was just fantastic, the whole vibe, and that was one of the moments that I had written down as well. But the crowd and everything, I don't know if I'd ever heard it that loud of a crowd pretty much throughout, other than, you know, maybe the Man Machine poem section. It was more subdued. People were listening. And, but the rest of the time it was just incredibly loud. I found in there. The crowd was just celebrating. That's kind of what I remember of it, and almost getting goosebumps listening to the crowd. And I think a couple times I looked around just to take in the surroundings as well. Yeah, it was fantastic, I thought, and I didn't feel a letdown when the show was over, myself or around me.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's funny, you talk about the going into the show, and it was a lot of, well, I wonder what they're going to play. You know, like you'd heard about the breaking it up by album, and well, what albums are they going to play here? What albums do we hope they're going to play? What songs off those albums do you hope they're going to play? Like, and it's in a way that I'd never thought about a concert in advance of a concert before. And I don't know if it was just like knowing it would be the final tour, or knowing that they were structuring the shows that way, that it made me really think, like, well, what would I want to hear if this was my last show ever? What would I want to hear from a band that I love? And so it was some nice speculation in advance. And then after, yeah, I would tend to agree. Like, it was like, I don't like using the cliche phrase spiritual experience, but it felt like a group experience that you're not going to have in many other circumstances. And, or any, like, I can't think of another situation where you're going to have that same group experience. And so everyone felt lifted by it. You know, we shared music that we all have a connection to, that we listened to growing up, that we forged friendships around, and we got to hear it with that same group. And then at the end, it just felt there was a catharsis to it, but there was also just a satisfaction to it that was what we had hoped it would be, and that was something that we can share memories of and carry with us.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I saw one show. I saw it in Toronto. I saw Toronto too. Looking back, I wish I had went to a whole lot more. I wasn't in a very good space then, though. I want to know what you guys thought of, like, sort of the stage production. You know, the first 8 songs, well, they kicked the door down right off the bat with Little Bones. Like, holy Christ, that's just great. But they're doing it in that tight circle, well, not tight, but they're much closer together, almost like they're playing on a smaller stage. What did you guys think of that? And then, they take the intermission, come back and take their usual sort of spots and give us a rock show.
I think that it looked to me like they were doing it like, okay, we got you, Gord. This is our gang. We're going to do this for ourselves, for ourselves and for Gord, and we're just going to be there to support him, get him on his feet. I got to stop hitting this table, sorry. And that's sort of how I felt it. Production-wise, the lighting was not great. It was very dark. The stage was, I thought, too dark. And from where I was at, I don't know, maybe was better behind the stage for the people that were seated back there. It looked like they were backlit, so it was tougher to see them. And then the only other thing, and I'll just mention, I video recorded the entire concert.
Oh, wow.
So I through the app, they said it's all allowed. You can only do it from your seat as long as you're not bugging anybody. So I brought a monopod and set up my camera just above kind of my head, let everybody know, and just kind of set the frame and just try to follow it with as best as I could with me still staying in the moment of the show. So I went back and looked at it. And the choice of the acoustic for Paul playing, it initially, like, it was hard to hear even in the show his guitar. So it was an interesting idea, but I thought he should have had maybe an electric guitar in that first set of 4 songs, because it was hard. Really, it was more difficult for me to hear some of his rhythm parts. But yeah, mostly it was the lighting that I thought could have been improved. That was mine of production. I really liked that they did that. It just seemed to me it was a support group kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and that buddies were all hanging together in the garage almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned production, because it's one of the things about seeing the Hip live and seeing other bands live, and they were never big on like outsized production. But even saying that, I'd kind of forgotten about the look of the show, and I had gone back and looked at some photos that were taken at the time, and you mentioned that it seemed really dark, and I had wondered from the photos that I looked at from the media reviews at the time, and I thought the lighting in them is really strange. It was really dim, and I couldn't quite remember whether that was the production lighting or just the way that the 10-year-old digital camera image is, and whether it was a symptom of that. But yeah, I don't remember it being like overproduced, and I think that was kind of, I didn't like they're just there to play the songs. And I really liked how they came out and they played together in a tight group. It felt like Britton mentioned, like they were there for Gore, but it also just felt like we're going to come out and ease everybody into it in a way. And whether that's intentional or not, like maybe people needed, okay, we're going to play it the first bit in this way, and then we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming in the way that people are used to seeing us. My favorite thing about the production, I don't know, and it has nothing to do with the music. In looking back at the set list again and thinking about the show, I loved the video interlude with the thunderstorm and all of that. That was just I know that it was like a costume change and a set change and to give the guys a break. And there's something about that kind of stuck with me afterwards for a bit. I just the weird video element in the middle.
Totally agree. Because they did the 8 songs and then the intermission, if I'm remembering right. Yeah. That's funny.
Very Canadiana.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. The hinterlands who's who. It's a rainy day. So this show comes on the heels of the news that Gord's not going to be with us. And we don't really know much more than that. Like, is it going to be days? Is it going to be weeks? Is it, well, we knew it was going to be weeks or months, but you never know. It's a crazy illness. And what he was attempting to do was outrageous, like really. What I'm curious about is your thoughts on the difference between, at what point did you start saying goodbye? I guess. Was it at any point during the show, or was it years after, or have you still?
For me, it was, I don't know that like the show in a way was saying goodbye, right? That like in terms of this is the band that many of us have seen. Like I haven't seen 40 shows, but in terms of concerts that I've seen in my life, I've seen them more than most bands that I've seen. And for me, it was a way of like, okay, this is a farewell to this band. Because the live shows are such an important part of this band's legacy. And you talk about the way the songs that people really like, the live versions of those seem to carry. Everyone talks about Killer Whale Tank. There's all of these elements about seeing them live fall into that for me. So in a part, it was saying goodbye, but also I've over the years tried to reacquaint myself with their music, listen, get into the albums that I may not have liked it as much at first. The Bob Rock albums, I don't think I had heard Morning Moon until well after it came out. And now for Plan A, I don't know that I actually listened to all the way through until like a few years ago, well after I had seen them live for the last time. And so it's maintaining a relationship as a listener and a fan with the music. So there's the saying goodbye to the live band and the band that you grew up with and the band that you saw with your friends, but at the same time there's this legacy of great music that it's hard to kind of say goodbye to.
Well put. Yeah, I guess we don't really have to. We've got things like this. There's podcasts out there. There's always new box sets with new music on them. So that kind of stuff is a lot of fun. Britton, how about you?
I didn't really have the sense of so much of goodbye. I just sort of stayed in the moment, enjoyed what it was for what it was.
Yeah.
And just another show. I do listen to a lot of their stuff still, and so I remain connected that way. It didn't really hit me that Gord was passing until the announcement came. I just kind of compartmentalized it. Okay, and I was hoping, well, maybe he has, maybe he'll get remission and we'll have another tour. But
I think there were a lot of people thinking that, hoping that.
I knew that it was very unlikely, but hope springs eternal, right? So
for sure,
I didn't dwell on it until the announcement was made that he had passed, and then it was, then it became the gut punch that it was, and I just for me it was just a celebration.
Yeah. Here we are, 10 years on, thinking about this show. They came out with the second encore of Fireworks and Bob Cajun. We were talking about Canadiana earlier on. What a Canadiana encore you guys got. What a goodbye you got. Just tremendous.
Actually, we didn't get the Bob Cajun.
Oh, shit. That was Edmonton too. You guys got Flamenco and Ahead by a Century. Oh, you guys got a preview of Ahead by a Century.
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Yeah.
And I really liked what Rob was doing for his guitar intro to that. It was, I think it was the best thing that he's done where he was noodling. It really resonated with me. So what did we get? We got 100th Meridian and Fully Completely as the first encore, I think.
And then Courage as
Courage.
Part of that.
Yes. So, I mean, that's great. Very upbeat trio of songs. And the sing-along for Courage, I mean, that's been going forever. And everybody was in on that. And it was, it was great. The choice of albums we got were
I was surprised that they started the second encore with flamenco. Like, you knew when they started playing flamenco that they were going to play Ahead by a Century to end the show. And I love flamenco. It's one of my favorite songs off Trouble at the Hen House. But I was kind of surprised because it's a more laid back song. It's a little subtle. It doesn't necessarily have encore feel, or doesn't feel like encore material. But I really like that choice. And again, it was the tour debut for that song, according to setlist.fm, which I love that resource. I could spend like hours poring over set lists. And, you know, in hindsight, it's like, well, maybe they should have played Springtime in Vienna, which is a favorite of the band, or maybe they should have played Gift Shop, which is a bigger song. But I feel like it pairs so well with Ahead by a Century. You have the kind of mellow feel of flamenco, and then it lets you kind of transition into Ahead by a Century really well.
Yeah,
and
it does.
I agree. Yeah. It is an odd pairing for the final two shows, or final two songs of a concert, for sure, and that usually their bands are trying to hype everybody up, but they did pair very well, as Dave said. Yeah.
Did they absolutely play the shit out of Ahead by a Century?
Oh,
Like they did the night of the 20th?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's one of those songs that, you know, it's so I brought, like, you know, JD, you know, from your Facebook group, I'm doing this bracket and all the best hip songs, and I seeded it based on Spotify streams. Bob Cajun is by far the most streamed Tragically hip song. Ahead by a Century is only number 3, but I picked it in my prediction as what will win out in the end. But maybe I'm wrong, but there's something about the feel of this song that feels more like an emotional core of the band. It's one of those, if I had to pick 3 or 4 songs from the band that feel like what is them at their core, that would be one of the 4 in terms of their Mount Rushmore songs. And in part because of the way it was played on the tour. The way it was played in Edmonton was amazing, and watching the show on the 20th on CBC was the same feeling. Watching them close out with that was just, it was such an emotional way to end things.
I agree. Yeah. And we can second guess, or not second guess, but like wish or cherry pick songs all day long. I mean, we've been doing it about SNL since they appeared on SNL. I
was 16 when SNL aired, and I loved the songs that they did. I know that there was question, should they have done earlier stuff that was maybe more less esoteric. I was all in on Day for Night, and to see them perform those live, I was naive, and I didn't realize how stoned they were when they played SNL. but just, he looked like he was transported somewhere else. For me, I couldn't have asked for them to play a better pair on SNL.
Oh, it was great. I want to go back to the 20th now, though. I want to talk about August 20th and where were you and what were you doing, and more specifically, who were you with?
I ended up watching it with a buddy of mine. I've got a great sound system, so we were in my basement. There were watch parties not necessarily in local to us, but Lloydminster's an hour away, and they had outdoor watch parties there. And we just decided we were going to be comfortable. We enjoyed it. My wife was visiting family in Regina, and they were watching it there. So the one buddy that I was watching it with, we'd gone through a few shows together, and so it was more a personal thing. And the one thing that I think gets lost, like CBC aired that commercial-free prime time in the middle of the Summer Olympics. They interrupted their own Olympic broadcasts to air this program uninterrupted, and that's, says a lot, I think, about what the band means to the country. And some, I don't give CBC a lot of credit a lot of times. I think they make some odd choices here and there, but this was a brilliant move to do, and it brought the country, I don't know, a third of the country together or more. I don't even know, can't remember. But
it was 11 million people.
I found it a little bit more emotional to watch that as the final show of the tour, but I still enjoyed it thoroughly, just as a concert and an experience. So that was sort of
it was a way to, it wasn't the same as experience as being at Rexall in July. I would tend to agree, but it was another way to connect with the band again. And it's funny, I was trying to remember, my wife wasn't home. I think she was at work. And so I was parenting, and, I think I had to get my daughter to bed, and I wasn't sure how long my son would want to stay up or if he was interested in staying up. He was only 8 at the time. And he kind of liked some of the music, but it's not really was necessarily in his wheelhouse. And so it was like, all right, how long will he watch with me without being bored? And how long will he stay up to watch? Or at least how long can I put off having to put another child to bed so I can enjoy as much of it as I can? But yeah, I even just remembered, the form that the band were in. I mean, the band never lost a step, right? They were still amazing. It was more the form that Gord was in through that whole show, and to come to the end of this tour, that tours are draining to begin with, and to be going through it, while you're dealing in the aftermath of a cancer diagnosis and battling cancer and to manage through that is, I can't even imagine the toll that would have taken. And so for him in the final show to be in top form was quite something. And that in itself, I think, was an emotional thing, is to watch what he had done. Like you said it earlier, Britton, just the idea that they're doing this for us, right? They didn't have to do a tour. They could have taken the time. Like, I'm sure they were doing it for them to come together as a band and play one more set of shows. But at the same time, they didn't have to. They could have put out the album and said, Gord's sick and we'd love to play for you, but it's just not what we want to do. And so in a way, they're doing it for us and paying their fans back. And so to get to watch that one more time was really quite something that I was, again, I don't think I saw the whole thing in its entirety on the final night. I think I've watched it in full since in rebroadcast, but even just to see what I saw of it, I would, it was another way to I guess say goodbye again. Yeah,
that's how I remember it as well. That was sort of when it started to really click. It was like, holy shit, this is my soundtrack, and it's I'm not going to get to see them live again.
Yeah, the full impact of what he did really didn't hit me until I watched the long time running documentary and what he had to do and what they needed to do, and the band was fully prepared to say, if this isn't working, we're going to tours off.
Yeah.
And then I think it was a Peter Mansbridge interview afterwards, and he had notes, like he had Peter's name written down, because he was quite frank with, I'm not going to remember your name. Now, I'm bad with names. I don't have brain cancer. And what he did to perform as he did with that ailment and pull it off, it made it all the more stunning in retrospect. Having watched the documentary on the tour and what he had to go through leading up to it and going through it, and I guess watching that sort of, I'm almost getting a little bit emotional thinking about it now.
No, of course, this is a big fucking deal. This band. They really are. They're beyond, Dave, you were talking about U2 earlier, and there would have been a time where I would have said, yeah, U2's the biggest band in the world, but the best band is Tragically Hip or whatever. However I would have said it. But here we are. The Tragically Hip basically eclipsed them in a sense. Like, U2 went, they stopped putting out records that were as good as their previous records, quite frankly. And I don't think once you do a deep dive on this catalog, I don't think there's too much of a dud. There's ones that don't rank as high for sure. Of course there are, but they've got a tremendous catalog. They did it for 35 years, just spectacular.
And I think even there's albums that that they may not be my favorite, but like you were talking off the top, Britton, like your affection for the Bob Rock albums, and I've in the years since, We Are the Same is such a good listen, and like Morning Moon and Country Day and Coffee Girl and The Depression Suite, Struggle Has a Name, like I love that album. And
I did not when I first heard it.
Well, for me it was I liked it more than World Container. World Container, there's something about it that just doesn't. I've listened to it again. I've listened to it a bunch. There's some songs that I think are quite good, but overall, as a feel for an album, it's not my thing. But in talking more about the band recently through doing this bracket that I'm doing, I'm seeing that there's this affection for these albums in a way. I may not like their 2000s output. Like I really like In Violet Light, but I don't know if I like the other 3 albums as much. Fair. But there is this wealth in their catalog, and I think you get to now for Plan A, which I think probably their most underrated album, and you get to Man Machine Poem, which is so weird but so cohesive.
Yes,
that there is like this. You are right. There is a band that the quality doesn't drop. You may not like them as much as other albums, but the quality is there all the way through.
Yeah.
What I would like to hear actually is, I think it was Rob was saying that they had an alternate, more rocking version of Man Machine Poem.
Oh, interesting.
Nick, and Gord wanted the version that was out. Now, I would like to hear this alternate version. When they played Machine at the show, I thought it was very good. It just seemed to me it was more guitar driven than I remembered from the album, but that's a lot of the stuff with the Hip. There, sometimes their live versions are better, or just slightly different than the album, and it makes me then go back to the album and reappreciate what's there, which is why I've always loved going to see them. And, now I pick up what I've been missing listening to the album, listening to it live, and Machine just seemed to really have more oomph than I remembered from listening to the album. So yeah, something like that. I would be curious with some of the re-releases they're doing. If they would do that just for just for my interest's sake.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get a box for every record, but like maybe we will at some point. But it's only been 10 years for this one. So what were you going to say, Dave? Sorry.
I was going to say, well, it's been interesting seeing what they've done with some of the reissues. The Phantom Power reissue is, I think, quite interesting. Some of those unreleased tracks weren't as strong, perhaps, as some of their other unreleased tracks. But I do find the interest in them fascinating, because we don't have a culture in Canada like they do in the UK of, I'm going to put out a single and it's going to have a B-side. You look at like Oasis and Blur and Radiohead, they have this great wealth of stuff that was released that people become attached to over time. What would have happened with some of the Saskadelphia songs if they had been released as B-sides in 91? Would they have become hits in their own way, as opposed to waiting 20 years to hear them? But yeah, I would love to see a 20th anniversary edition of Man Machine Poem with an alternate version of it. I think that would be fascinating.
I do too. Yeah, I would love to hear that. I want a Music at Work one.
Yeah.
I just think that would be interesting to hear what was left off there. Just having done a lot of research on that record, like it sounds like it was just a shit show the whole time. Everything was out of control, and I think it's a not bad record. Anyway, what song, when it comes on now, makes you think about that night? Is it the one you've already mentioned, Dave, or is there another song out there that you hear and it takes you back?
It's Gus and Scared. I think more than any of them, there's something about the performance of Gus, and it's Gus. I find is a weird one. It's not like a catchy single. It's not a sing along. I don't even think I know all the words to Gus, but I love that opening line, and I love the line "You sound demented." But there is something about how Gord performed it at the show. And then Scared. Like those are the two that stand out for me. And I mean, obviously Ahead by a Century, but it's also because I have the memory of watching it on TV later in the summer that I think I can't necessarily separate the Edmonton version with the Kingston version. But yeah, Gus and Scared, and the way the crowd reacted to Scared.
How about you?
Well, I'm going to be boring because I agree with both of them.
That's not boring. That's honest.
Nope. So,
No, that's fine.
I was thinking about this. Where is it? Oh my goodness, Grace 2. Who could forget that?
Oh yeah.
I think someone went. It does bring me back there because the crowd was very into that song that night too, and it was another one of those.
Another big sing along, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you guys got Escape Is at Hand.
We did, and I enjoyed that.
You're not a fan, Dave.
No, I am. Oh, it's funny.
Okay.
That's one of those. Phantom Power. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite album, but it's one that I listen to the most. I think because at a certain time of my life, and I was learning how to play guitar, and there's some of those songs on that album that are pretty easy to pick up for a guy who's learning how to play an acoustic guitar. And Escape Is at Hand was not one of my favorite songs for a long time, but the more I listened to that album, the more it kind of crept up on me. And then after I read Barclay's book, and he talked about it owing a debt to a song by a German band, Neu, and I listened to that song, and then I gained a new appreciation for it because of how it captured the feel of that song.
Wow.
What's it? Hallo Gallo, I think, is the name of that one. And just the jammy nature of it is something that, like, it's very much a vibe song as opposed to like a sing along song.
Yeah.
Started out like grooving. Yeah.
Just a spectacular set list again. It's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. Do you think about this show differently now? Is it the same hit? Like, do you think about it often? I suppose, Britton?
More often lately. I extracted the audio off the video, so I have that in my iTunes.
Lovely.
Nice.
And it is available. I think the Hip Forum. I think somewhere in there, there's a whole library of live shows, bootlegs, audience recordings.
The Hip Archive.
Hip Archive. I think it's the newest version of it. So there's lots of stuff on there. So do I think about it differently? I don't. I enjoy it. I appreciate so much that I got to go. I'm happy that I was so happy to see it. So I'll go back and listen just to relive it a little bit here and there, and just in snippets. I'll do it. I did go back and watch the video the other day, and just to sort of get my sense of the show again. And I didn't get a bad sense of nostalgia. It was still a joyous sense of nostalgia that, this
that's great.
Show. And I enjoyed watching it. I didn't get verklempt. And it so good. And I think of it the same. I went in there to enjoy it and to have joy, and that's how I came out and then continued with it myself.
Dave, how about you? Have you reflected on it differently at all?
Well, in the lead up to this, it obviously trying to think about it, to talk about it, is I hadn't thought about it in a while, right? I've been thinking about the band a lot lately with the anniversary coming up and of the tour and the last album and doing my own things around that, like re-listening to the discography and doing this bracket and just getting reacquainted with songs I'm so familiar with. So it's more made me kind of just have to reassess my memory of it, as opposed to, because there was probably a period, I had small kids and work and everything. You kind of, I was just commenting to my wife before I came downstairs to record this. I don't remember concerts the same way I remember songs or movies. There's something ephemeral about them that I really need to think back. I was saying like I saw Jay-Z and the Killers in the same year. Like, I don't remember them at all. I've seen Oasis twice, and I remember the first show better than the second show. So for me, it was identifying some of those key memories for me that stood out, that I definitely stuck out in my brain, but then trying to look at the set list and like, oh, what do I remember from that? But it was just like a nice thing to come back to and reflect on. I don't know if I think about it more than other shows. I think of my first Hip tour, the Trouble at the Henhouse show back in the day, where you had to stay up all night to line up outdoors to buy tickets, and doing that with friends, or the show where it was just, I can't remember what year it was, but it was the evening with the Tragically Hip, no opening act, 2 big sets, or seeing them in a smaller theater and being introduced to Sam Roberts because of the Tragically Hip. Yeah. And like, there's just a lot of fond musical memories of my life tied up with this band.
Yeah, same. Absolutely same. And it sounds like Brendan's the same.
Yeah.
We love this, and here we are flying the flag for them, 10 years later, without new content. Well, we've got new content, but it's different new content. Yeah. Anyway, fellas, I want to thank you for taking me through your journey. I want to know if you have any final thoughts at all about July 28th, 2016.
Final thoughts. I think that, well, now I'm going to go try and find the recording in the Hip archive to get even more reacquainted with it. But I think just there are very few concert experiences that resonate through a person's life, and it will vary depending on the person because of their musical taste. But I think that it's an amazing example of the kind of thing that you'll probably will only experience once in your life for whatever reason. In this case, it happened to be because of a diagnosis. In some cases, it may be a final tour. In some cases, it may be the first time you see a band that really gels with you. But it's the kind of concert that leaves an indelible impact on a person. I guess that's kind of, to be as poignant as I can, that's kind of where it leaves me, that it was a once in a lifetime experience for good and sad reasons.
Yeah.
No,
anything you want to add?
Well, I completely agree. And it was a communal experience to be in, that unlike any other concert that I'd been to previous. I've been to some big concerts and some fantastic concerts, but not with the vibe that was in the building, the vibe that was there throughout the show. And I do feel privileged to have been a part of it, and count my blessings that I was able to do that. And we all got the chance to do that and say goodbye, I guess, in our own way.
Absolutely. Well put. Well, fellas, it's been a great time going on this journey with you. I really want to thank you for your time today. I want to know if you've got anything that you would like to plug or that you need to plug. Britton, anything?
Not really.
No? Okay, that's cool.
I did throw the video segments up on YouTube way back in the days. They're there. I think the way that were recorded, there's like 5 parts to the show. So I just thought I wanted to record it so that it would be there to share.
What is the title? Or maybe you could send me the URL later, and I'll put it in the show notes.
I'll try to do that. So when I Googled it, because I was trying to get it off my computer onto something I could play it on my TV, that didn't work because I'm a Luddite as far as computers go, for the most part. So I had to go look it up and look at Tragically Hip Edmonton, and I wasn't finding it. So it's under my nickname on is Brit Stones, because my other band is the Rolling Stones. That was the band I've gone to many times, many places, as I have the hip. So it's just, and then I put Brit Stones right underneath it, and then there it is, part 1, part to 5 or whatever. And it was just would play it up. I should actually get it up there properly, but that's all I have to say. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, I know Dave has something, at least one thing he wants to plug.
Well, yeah, I would encourage people who are listening to this I post about it every day in your Facebook group, and I appreciate letting me spam it every day with matchups, and I'm loving the discussion. So I'd encourage people, fans who haven't been taking part, to get involved. As we're recording this, we're a few matchups away from the end of round 1, but so we started with 128 songs. And every day there's a new matchup, and the wrap up should be, I think, early September if I did my math correct, or maybe mid September. I'll have to look at that again, but take part, find it. I'm in that Facebook group every day putting matchups up, and I'm posting it to my own social media as well. But for people listening who know where the Facebook group is, I'd encourage you to take part. And there'll be some really interesting matchups in round 2.
Oh,
Dave,
I bet.
I've looked at it, and for me, I can't participate because it's like asking who the child is. So
it's killing your darlings, to borrow a writing term.
It's going to get this second round is going to be brutal because there's a lot of good songs that went through, and half of them. Yeah, there's going to be some easy ones in round 2. Like, as much as I love them, but like El Dorado doesn't stand a chance against Bob Cajun, right? But you get into Highway Girl versus Pigeon Camera, like Nautical Disaster versus The Wherewithal. And I'm not sure what, some of those may be gone by the time this is posted, but Daredevil might lose handily to Blow It High-Do, but I'd hate to see Daredevil go. We're looking for a place to happen versus Springtime in Vienna. Like, it's gonna, and the closer we get to the end, it's gonna get really tricky. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's been fun.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to be really interested to see if it comes down to the same song that ended up number 1 on the top 40 last year.
Which was the number 1 on the top 40 last year? Was it
Grace 2?
Was it Bob Grace 2?
It was Grace 2 was number 1.
A couple people have picked that out as like, I think because it's based on Spotify streams, Grace 2 is something like number 9.
So it's got good spot on the bracket.
Yeah, so to keep my own personal opinion out of the rankings, I just thought the easiest way is, okay, what's most popular, and then letting it. So it's led to some sad matchups. A Beautiful Thing lost on the first day to Bob Cajun, but
these things in the first round, you almost have to go chalk the whole way.
We mourn and move on.
It just seems very few upsets in the first round.
Yeah.
But the second round is going to be all about it. Anyway, that's at facebook.com/groups/TTH pods. You can find it there, or you can probably just Google it, I would suspect. Not sure, though. Anyway, thanks again for coming out. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the information. Sorry for the glitches at the beginning, everybody. We got that all figured out, though. And tomorrow we're taking the day off, but the next day after that, we're going to talk about Edmonton number 2. And we're going to have a whole new panel, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. In the meantime, pick up your shit.
Thanks for listening. This has been a presentation of the Tragically Hip podcast series. For more information and to follow us, visit home.tthpods.com. If you'd like to reach JD, send an email to jd@tthpods.com.
You're in Russia, and more than 1,000,000 works of art are whisked out to the world. So when the Nazis find the whole place dark, but thank God